Good morning, Alex and friends. I'm Grace. Today is Friday, February 28th, 2025, and you're listening to Alex's News. The weather in Riverside is looking warm today with a high of 78.9 degrees and a low of 58.5. Coming up on today's show, we'll examine why a group of former defense chiefs are calling for congressional hearings, potentially raising concerns about national security policies. We'll also look into California's ongoing struggle with wildfire prevention legislation, as bills continue to fail despite the mounting costs of these devastating blazes. Plus, we'll explore the surprising role car dealerships are playing in electric vehicle tax credit rejections, creating roadblocks for consumers trying to go green. All this and more on Alex's News. In a remarkable development from Washington, 5 former defense secretaries have jointly called for congressional hearings over President Trump's recent dismissal of top military leaders. Joining us now with more details is our Pentagon correspondent, Ethan. Ethan, this seems to be an unprecedented move by these former officials. What can you tell us?
That's right, Grace. This is truly extraordinary. According to reporting from the Associated Press, 5 former secretaries of defense spanning both Republican and Democratic administrations have signed a letter demanding immediate congressional hearings. William Perry, Leon Panetta, Chuck Hagel, Jim Mattis, and Lloyd Austin are collectively expressing alarm over what they describe as politically motivated firings that undermine legal constraints on presidential power.
What specific dismissals have triggered this response?
The controversy centers on several high-profile removals, Grace. As reported by ABC News, Air Force General C.Q. Brown Jr. was removed as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff after serving only 17 months of his 4-year term. The administration also dismissed Admiral Lisa Franchetti, who was Chief of Naval Operations, General Jim Slife, the Vice Chief of the Air Force, and several Judge Advocates General for the military services.
And what reasons have been given for these dismissals?
That's part of what's causing concern. According to the Associated Press, the former defense chiefs wrote that there was no clear justification for these firings. They specifically noted that several of the dismissed officers had previously been nominated by Trump himself and had exemplary careers. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth has defended the actions, stating that President Trump is entitled to choose his own team.
I understand there's also controversy surrounding Trump's nominee for the new chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. What can you tell us about that?
Yes, that's correct. President Trump has nominated retired Lieutenant General Dan Kane for the position, but according to analysis from Perplexity, Kane doesn't meet the legal requirements outlined in the 1986 Goldwater-Nichols Act. This law requires candidates to have served as either a combatant commander, vice chairman, or service chief of positions Kane has never held.
Can you tell us more about Kazin's background?
Certainly. Ken served as an F-16 fighter pilot and held positions including Deputy Commanding General for Operation Inherent Resolve from 2018 to 2019. Perplexity reports that he was also Director of Special Access Programs in the Office of the Undersecretary of Defense for Acquisition and Sustainment from 2019 to 2021, and Associate Director for Military Affairs at the CIA until his retirement just 2 months ago in December 2024.
How did Kane come to President Trump's attention?
According to Perplexity, their relationship reportedly began during a presidential visit to Iraq in December 2018. Trump has claimed that Kane expressed confidence in defeating ISIS quickly during that visit. The president apparently refers to Kane by his military call sign, Razin, though some details of their interaction have been disputed by aides.
What are the legal implications of these dismissals, particularly regarding General Brown?
The former secretaries argue that removing General Brown before completing his statutorily prescribed 4-year term violates the legislative intent of the law establishing the chairman's tenure. While the president does have constitutional authority as commander-in-chief to remove military officers, the 4-year term established by the Goldwater-Nichols Act was intended to ensure continuity and stability in military leadership.
What actions are the former defense secretaries calling for?
They're urging senators to reject any new Pentagon nominations, including Kane's, until the administration provides justification for the firings. They're also calling on Congress to investigate whether the dismissal of General Brown violated legislative intent. This unprecedented joint appeal underscores growing concerns about the potential politicization of the U.S. military and erosion of traditional civil-military relations.
Thank you, Ethan, for that comprehensive report on this developing situation at the Pentagon. We'll continue to follow this story as congressional leaders respond to these calls for hearings. In our second story today, we turn to California's ongoing struggle with wildfires and the legislative challenges that may be hampering prevention efforts. Joining us is our environmental policy reporter, Chloe Bennett. Chloe, despite the devastating impact of these fires, it seems many bills aimed at preventing them are failing to pass. What's happening here?
That's right, Grace. According to reporting from Cal Matters, approximately 90 wildfire-related bills have been introduced in the current legislative session, with about half focused specifically on mitigation. But many of these bills are actually reintroductions of legislation that failed in previous years, suggesting a troubling pattern of inaction despite the growing threat.
And what kind of economic impact are these fires having on California?
The numbers are staggering. AccuWeather estimates cited by Perplexity show that the 2025 wildfires alone are projected to cost between $250 billion and $275 billion in total economic damage. That includes property destruction, loss of life, healthcare costs, and business disruptions, making them among the costliest natural disasters in U.S. history.
So with such enormous costs at stake, what's preventing these prevention bills from passing?
There are several key obstacles, Grace. First, budget concerns are frequently cited. Governor Newsom vetoed Assembly Bill 2330 last year, despite its unanimous bipartisan support, citing significant ongoing costs. As reported by Perplexity, he emphasized that such expenditures need to be considered within the annual budget process.
But isn't the state already spending significantly on firefighting?
Absolutely. California has allocated $4.2 billion to CAL FIRE for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, which represents a substantial increase since 2019. However, the Orange County Register and Cal Matters note that cost concerns frequently lead to bills being killed in committee before they even reach the governor's desk.
Beyond budget issues, what other factors are at play?
Environmental regulation conflicts are another major hurdle. Cal Matters reports that many wildfire prevention bills fail because they clash with existing environmental protections. Former Senator Bill Dodd noted the challenge of balancing environmental concerns with necessary mitigation work, though he argued that the benefits of mitigation outweigh the risks of inaction.
Can you give us an example of that conflict?
Sure, some environmental groups have opposed measures that would ease California Environmental Quality Act requirements for vegetation management. For instance, the Center for Biological Diversity opposed a bill that sought to overhaul the state fire marshal's mapping system, arguing it would create unacceptable risks to wildlife and habitats.
I understand there have also been recent budget cuts to wildfire programs. How significant are those?
Despite the massive economic toll of wildfires, Governor Newsom approved cuts of over $100 million to wildfire-related funding in the current budget. According to Perplexity, these cuts affected critical programs such as home hardening, which lost $12 million, CAL FIRE's Forest Data Program, which lost $6 million, and prescribed fires, which saw a $5 million reduction. The final reduction totaled $144 million, significantly more than initially proposed.
That seems counterintuitive given the potential costs of these fires.
It does raise questions about cost-benefit analysis. The economic damages from the 2025 wildfires alone are estimated at $250 minus $275 billion, nearly 2,000 times greater than the budget cuts. Assemblymember Heath Flora told Cal Matters that wildfire mitigation requires more political willpower this year.
Are these prevention measures actually effective when implemented?
That's a crucial question. Experts cited by Perplexity suggest that while increased funding and personnel have enhanced firefighting capabilities, recent devastating wildfires in Southern California were largely driven by extreme weather conditions like Santa Ana winds and dry fuels. However, research indicates that proactive measures like forest management and home hardening can significantly reduce wildfire risks and damages. For example, homes built after 2008, following stricter building codes, are demonstrably less likely to be destroyed by wildfires.
Thank you, Chloe, for that comprehensive look at California's wildfire prevention challenges. It certainly highlights the complex balance between immediate budget concerns and long-term disaster prevention.
Absolutely, Grace. As climate change continues to increase the frequency and intensity of these fires, finding that balance becomes even more critical.
Here are some other headlines. The Social Security Administration is facing a potential workforce reduction of up to 50%. Acting Commissioner Leland Dudek is reportedly considering cutting as many as 28,500 jobs from the agency's current staff of 57,000. This comes amid financial pressures from decades of congressional underfunding, with the agency's administrative budget shrinking from 1.2% of benefit outlays to under 1%. The situation has been described as a free fall by former Maryland Governor Martin O'Malley, with at least 5 of 8 regional commissioners announcing their retirement amid the rumors of staff cuts. Attorney General Pam Bondi has released new files related to Jeffrey Epstein, fulfilling a transparency pledge made by President Trump. The documents include evidence lists, flight plans, and a contact book that appeared to be part of Ghislaine Maxwell's trial. Bondi has demanded the FBI provide thousands of additional pages by Friday morning, accusing the agency of withholding crucial information. Maxwell is currently serving a 20-year prison sentence for sex crimes, following her 2021 conviction. In a major development, Mexico has extradited notorious drug lord Rafael Caro Quintero and 28 other suspects to the United States. Caro Quintero, infamous for his role in the 1985 murder of DEA agent Enrique Kiki Camarena, was recaptured in 2022 after being controversially released in 2013. The extradition coincides with high-level negotiations between Mexican officials and the Trump administration over trade and security issues, as the U.S. has threatened to impose 25% tariffs on Mexican imports unless Mexico takes stronger action against cartels. The U.S. and Ukraine are expected to sign an economic deal involving joint development of Ukraine's valuable mineral resources. The agreement will establish a fund with 50% of future proceeds from state-owned resources, including minerals, oil, and gas. President Zelensky is scheduled to visit the White House to finalize the deal, with discussions expected on continued U.S. military support. The arrangement focuses on Ukraine's significant reserves of titanium, graphite, and lithium, which are crucial for the U.S. defense industry. U.S. District Judge William Alsup has ruled that mass firings of federal probationary workers were likely unlawful. The judge ordered the Office of Personnel Management to inform federal agencies that it had no authority to direct such terminations. An estimated 200,000 probationary employees across federal agencies have been affected by these firings. Judge Alsup has scheduled an evidentiary hearing for March 13th and ordered the acting head of OPM to testify about a February phone call where agency heads were allegedly directed to fire probationary employees. In our third story this morning, a new headache is emerging for electric vehicle owners across the country. Many are discovering their tax returns are being rejected when they try to claim the federal EV tax credit worth up to $7,500. Joining us to explain what's happening is our consumer affairs reporter, Ethan. So Ethan, what's causing these rejections?
Grace, it all comes down to a new digital reporting system that the IRS introduced in 2024 called Energy Credits Online. According to NPR's reporting, this system was supposed to streamline the process for claiming the federal EV tax credit, allowing buyers to either get an upfront rebate at purchase or claim it when filing taxes. But the implementation has been problematic, to say the least.
What exactly went wrong with this new system?
Well, under the new rules that came with the Inflation Reduction Act, dealerships are required to report EV sales to the IRS within 3 days of purchase using this new Energy Credits Online portal. This reporting is mandatory, regardless of how the buyer plans to claim the credit. But as NPR has uncovered, while over 14,000 dealers registered to use the new portal, approximately 3,000 did not. Many dealerships were either unaware of this requirement or simply failed to comply, sometimes using outdated forms instead.
That sounds like a significant oversight. How many EV buyers are being affected by this?
The exact number remains unclear, But Kara News Morning Edition has highlighted that this is becoming a widespread issue. We're seeing numerous cases where buyers who believed they had followed all the correct procedures are now discovering their tax returns are being rejected simply because their dealerships failed to properly report the sales to the IRS.
Can you share any specific examples of how this is affecting real people?
Absolutely. NPR shared the story of a woman named Christina Meyer who obtained what she believed was all the correct paperwork from her dealer, only to have her tax return rejected, and she's certainly not alone. Many buyers are finding themselves in this frustrating situation through no fault of their own.
What options do these affected buyers have now?
There are several paths forward, Grace. First, buyers should contact their dealership and request that they submit the necessary report through the Energy Credits online portal. Some buyers have also reported success with appeals directly to the IRS, especially if they can demonstrate they acted in good faith. The Taxpayer Advocate Service might be able to help navigate the process as well.
Are there any more drastic measures people are considering?
Yes, some affected customers are contemplating legal action against dealerships that failed to comply with the reporting requirements. Others are contacting their congressional representatives to bring attention to the issue, hoping to pressure the IRS to find a solution. Tax experts interviewed by NPR recommend that EV buyers file their returns early this year to allow time for resolving any issues that might come up.
Looking ahead, is there any advice for people planning to purchase an EV in the future?
The main recommendation from tax experts is to consider opting for the upfront rebate at the time of purchase rather than waiting to claim the credit on your tax return. This avoids the potential for these kinds of problems at tax time. The IRS could potentially resolve this by allowing retroactive reporting, but it's unclear if such a solution will be implemented, especially given current challenges within the federal government.
Thank you, Ethan, for breaking down this complicated issue for our viewers. It's certainly a cautionary tale about the potential pitfalls of new tax credit systems.
Absolutely, Grace. It really highlights the importance of making sure all parties, both buyers and sellers, understand their responsibilities under changing regulations.
That's all we have for now. Today's episode was made by Alexander King with Claude Sonnet 3.7, Gemini Flash 2.0, the Perplexity API, and the Google Cloud Text-to-Speech API. Hope you have a great day. I'll see you tomorrow, Alex.